104 schools, colleges and nursery buildings in England are being closed over safety fears about concrete. So not necessarily the whole school, but bits of it. It's all to do with something called reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete or RAC. So I'm going to just show you something now. And I want you to look over here. And basically, this is a little quiz for you both, right? Take a look here. And we'll ask the question, is it aero or is it concrete? Because the concrete looks just... So is that the concrete or is that the concrete? Because this concrete looks just like an aero chocolate bar, okay? Which is it? Which is it? Have a look at home. I'll help you here. I've coloured them in now. So that's aero, that's chocolate, right? The concrete looks the same. So again, you could see the context of that. But this is the problem. They invented a type of concrete with holes in it. And it's just as basic. Now, if you go on, as I did this morning, the Department for Education's website, you can find something to help you spot it. Is it in your school? RAAC or rack panels are most commonly on roofs, floors, walls. There they are. That's what it looks like. They show then some examples and they say, look, watch out for this. It's a chamfer there. It gives it a little V shape in here, right? And you can see also, if you knock into it, the holes in it, like the aero. They're light grey or white in appearance. The underside of the panels appears smooth. The inside will appear bubbly, right? Unlike, this is mind-blowing. There it is. You don't see stones in it either. And the aerated appearance is like that. That's what happens when it cracks, okay? That's the problem in schools and hospitals. It cracks and you get that. And that's the school in Kent. And if I sound cross about it, it's just absurd. We've known about this since the 60s, Callie.
Yeah, we have.
It's not a surprise. Did you think the aero was would you build a school with aeros?
I mean, I'm no engineer, but I'm thinking the point of concrete is it's solid, it's strong, and it supports things. And yes, and actually, when I saw it, I thought, maybe you conveniently retrofit your memory to it. But I feel I have definitely seen that now.
I've seen it too.
Yeah, it feels familiar from my school days. And sadly, it isn't just from my school days, is it? It's still there.
And there were reasons they did it, Dawn, because all the reasons are the reasons it's a bad thing. It's lighter, it's cheaper, it's got air in it,
It's cheaper.
Come on.
That was the thing. It was cheaper and it was easier to use, so you could build school buildings properly. They started using it in the 1950s. They didn't stop until the 1990s, even though doubts had been raised about it. Like Callie, I definitely remember sitting at school in the 70s and seeing that. So the fact that it's still going on, and I think the thing that's annoying a lot of people with this story is the fact that the kids are due to go back to school within days.
Yes.
And suddenly it's like, well, hold on a minute, you can't go back. We've got to make sure it's safe for you.
Let's talk to somebody who knows all about this. Simon Pitchers, chartered structural engineer, known as the Crackman. Simon, this I know has been in your sort of in tray for a while, this stuff, because you see it all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. The first failures of this stuff were in the 1990s. So we have known about it for a long, long time. But even when it was used, Jeremy, it had a shelf life then of 30 years. And so really, it's coming back to haunt us now. The trouble is we don't think buildings have a shelf life of 30 years. It's a bit like the prefabs after the war, which were only designed for a short-term use, but they're still around now. And it's a similar situation here.
Is there anything, Simon, if you went into a school and you found this aero concrete, could you do anything to other than replace it? Could you inject it with I don't know, melted steel or something?
Well, good idea, but you can't inject it with melted steel. But there are things you can do. So what the thing is, it's not just the concrete that's the problem. It's the interaction of the concrete and the reinforcement inside it. So concrete is all very well in compression, but when you start to bend it, you have to put steel bars in it to make it resist the bending. Now, the problem here isn't so much the concrete itself, it's the interaction between the two things. So you imagine if you had a steel bar and you encased it in this aero concrete and you tried to pull it out, it would be relatively easy. And one of the things that they used to do was they'd put a sort of T-piece on the end of the steel bar to make it more difficult to pull, so that the tensile reinforcement could actually be used to its full potential. Now, that is one of the problems here, is that in some of these units, they found that this, what they call transverse reinforcement, isn't present. Okay, and so that makes these things much more prone to failure. I mean, the other thing is they're largely used as roof units. That's one of their main uses. And of course, if you get a leak in a flat roof, the whole roof becomes heavier, and also you can get corrosion occurring in the steel. So that's another kind of complication. And normally, steel, when it corrodes, it becomes somewhere between 4 and 11 times bigger. Okay, so you imagine this piece of steel getting wet in an aerated autoclave concrete unit. And as it gets wetter, it's getting bigger. The rust is getting larger and larger. It's like a sort of slow-mo explosion happening inside the unit. But you can't actually see that on the outside of the unit. Because it's such a weak material, the bubbles just crush. And only after a lot of corrosion has occurred can you actually see that you're getting corrosion on the outside. So that's another problem with it.
A brilliant explanation. And the key thing would be, if you had young children, Simon, at this point in life, and they were at a school, and with your structural engineer hat on, you look and you think, oh my goodness, that's rack concrete. Would you allow them to go in on Monday?
Only if I knew that a properly experienced chartered structural engineer had done an inspection. Because, Jeremy, some of these schools are okay. It's not all of them that are up the Swanee. There are a lot of them that are fine. But you need to have an inspection done to make sure that they are okay. That's the thing. And you can look around a school and you can check whether it's okay. And a chartered structural engineer with the appropriate experience will be able to write a report. And if I saw a report and my children were going to that school, the report said it was safe, I would trust that report and I would send them to that school. But if I didn't know that a report had been done, I'd be worried.
All right, Simon, thank you. You're going to have a busy few years with this stuff, I think. Thank you so much. Nice to see you. Simon Pitchers. Cheers, Simon. Chartered structural surveyor, known as Crackman. There we are. That I'm now clear on it.
I want a job that gives me a title like that, like Crackman.